back to another episode of Perkins Pipes. We've got the bent billiard here, the black bent billiard that I made. So let's get this guy fired up, and you'll see why I'm dressed in blue for this episode. We're going to talk about the blues. Talk about the blues music in this episode, and I've got to tell you, it's one of my favorite genres of music. So, I didn't know about blues until I got into hard rock and metal. And it was through bands like Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple. And as I began to study them and study their influences, I realized they were influenced, all of those guys were, by American blues. So naturally, I started to dig into that. And oh my goodness, I'm nowhere near a blues expert, but I'm going to share with you a few artists that I really enjoy. So if you like this kind of thing, if you like talking about pipes, if you like talking about music, philosophy, poetry, literature, theology, all the finer things of life, I invite you to click subscribe. It's so great to have so many followers, subscribers on the channel, and to interact with people here and on the Pipe Cottage social app. So, think about blues. The one thing I think you got to know about blues is that there really is a geographic divide when it comes to the blues. The blues started along the Mississippi River, Mississippi Delta region. In fact, we often refer to the Delta blues. And that sort of blues is very raw. It's very raw. It's very often acoustic. Yes. In some ways, you might even think it's unrefined. And it's got a lot of power to it. And nobody does it better than Robert Johnson. Robert Johnson was a huge influence on a lot of the British rock bands. They'll all talk about his style of guitar, his singing. And one of my absolute favorites of his is A Steady Rollin' Man. And I love all of Robert Johnson's stuff. At one time I had the box set. All of his recordings are really just about 2 discs worth. We don't have a lot of music by him. He died young. You can get into all that if you want to how he died and some of the stuff involved there. But, it's just raw. It's acoustic. It's just a man and his guitar. I'm a steady rolling man. I roll both night and day. And then that dun 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 dun. And then it's so much. It's repeated. I'm a steady rolling man. Yeah, I roll both night and day. And just and then I don't have a sweet woman to be rolling this away. So much the blues deals with heartbreak and loss, tragedy, and the thing I think about blues that everybody can relate to is that we've all had the blues in terms of emotional feel. We've all suffered the blues, and we've all suffered loss, betrayal, these kinds of things. And so we know the themes of the blues. So that's why I love it. I love it, the universality of the lyric. I love the raw honesty, and then the music is just incredible. Now, you go up the Mississippi River, and you eventually get to Chicago. And so we talk about Chicago blues. It's kind of Delta blues and Chicago blues. And yes, there's tons of variations all throughout that region, and then it spreads out east and west from there. But if the Delta blues we think of as more acoustic, very raw, maybe unrefined, Chicago blues is electric. It's been electrified. Now we're getting into electric guitars, getting into some full band sounds there, and so many Chicago blues artists. But for my money, you don't get a whole lot better than Willie Dixon. Willie Dixon wrote a lot of songs. He's got a classic album, I Am the Blues. Highly recommend that album. Check that out if you can find it. It's just so many of his songs. Some of his songs ended up being done by Led Zeppelin. But you take the classic, his classic Backdoor Man. Well, I am the backdoor man. Well, the men don't know, but the little girls, they understand. One of the themes of blues also is the kind of the guy who's kind of tomcatting around with different women. But if you listen to that song, A Backdoor Man, or really any of the songs on that particular album, oh, there is such an incredible groove. And I have to say, my wife does not like blues, doesn't like blues at all. I love blues, and for me, here's the deal. If you like blues, you feel it. If you don't feel it, you're not going to like it. And man, there's a feel to Willie Dixon. Both his vocals and then the full band around him. I highly recommend that. Got to throw Big Mama Thornton in here. Now, Big Mama Thornton, you think of Big Mama Thornton, you think of Sister Rosetta Tharpe. There's a lot of great female blues artists. But Big Mama Thornton, I just want to draw attention to her for a moment. Her version of Hound Dog, I'm sorry, Elvis, we love you, brother, but man, it blows Elvis's version away. If you've never heard the original version by Big Mama Thornton, or Big Mama Thornton's version, go listen to that. Go listen to that. It is just raw. It's got what we call a kind of nasty sound to it. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, doodle doodle doo, and goes on from there. And you got a feel to that. My goodness, it is like I say, it just beats the rock and roll version, really more pop version by Elvis. So you owe it to yourself to go listen to that. So many then have been influenced by the great blues artists. Kind of the early era of blues. And then you think about people like Eric Clapton. To me, Eric Clapton is more modern. And obviously we think about it with him with Cream and Derek and the Dominoes. Many of his own solo songs, certainly great rock and roll songs. One of the most beautiful ballads in the world is Wonderful Tonight. But Clapton was blues from the beginning. That's his heart, that's his soul. He's got an album he did with B.B. King. I think it's called Me and the King. He's got a wonderful song, Blues Before Sunrise. I've got the album cover coming up here for you. Blues Before Sunrise. Man, check that out. That is just great Chicago blues sound. Obviously, Eric Clapton is the master of the electric guitar. And he's got a great voice. He's got a great voice for singing the blues. It's got, again, sort of a raw sound to it, a little bit rough. Got the blues before sunrise. You know, that's sort of a sound to it. It's quite a bit of grit in his voice. So love Clapton. Then I want to throw in just a couple of others that you may not be familiar with, so even if you're familiar with blues. There was a guy in the late 80s, early 90s named Jeff Healey. Recorded 2 or 3 albums, passed away early. A fellow, he played guitar on his lap because he was blind. And it didn't really work for him to hold the guitar and stand and move around on stage. So he just had the guitar flat on his lap, and he learned to play that way. And just, oh my goodness, a great voice. His first album, I think it's called See the Light. I highly recommend that. And the song Confidence Man. You can't pull the wool over me because I'm a confidence man. So good. And if you ever saw the Patrick Swayze movie from the 80s, just a big testosterone flick called Roadhouse. Jeff Healey, his band is the house band. At the saloon where Patrick Swayze works as the cooler, the head of the bouncers, called the Double Deuce. That's Jeff Healey, and that's his band. Then I want to introduce you to a couple of guys, Glenn Kaiser and Daryl Mansfield. They had 2 albums together. Called Trimmed and Burnin' and Slow Burn. And a lot of times you can find these kind of together on a double CD. I could recommend everything that these guys did. But one song I'll draw out in particular is You're Gonna Need Somebody on Your Bond. And the thing of Kaiser Mansfield is these guys are Christian blues artists. Now, that may seem a little bit strange, especially given some of the themes we were talking about earlier. Guys tomcatting around, heartbreak, all this kind of stuff. But what Kaiser Mansfield do so well is to show that the Christian life is not just sunshine and roses, right? Anybody who knows anything about the life of Jesus Christ, you know that's not, certainly isn't the case. And I mean, let's face it, Christ's earthly life ended in crucifixion, right? This is a guy, I'll talk about the man of constant sorrows. That's Jesus. You can get prophecy about him in the book of Isaiah. So there was nothing about this guy that you would even look at and think it. You wouldn't think twice about Jesus if you passed him on the street. So he's just a regular guy. So there's that aspect, and they bring that to their blues. Tremendous, both acoustic and electric, so you really get both a Delta sound. You would also get a Chicago sound there as well. Certainly I would put Glenn Kaiser, especially though, more into the Delta side of the blues. In fact, I'm going to mention one of his solo albums. He did a number of solo albums. He was also the founder of a Christian, really hard rock metal band called the Resurrection Band. Sometimes they went just by Rez, R-E-Z, Rez Band for short. But he did a number of solo albums, including this one. We'll pull a picture up for you here, Ripley County Blues. And I highly recommend a song off there called Nick of Time. Nick of Time, so go check that out. So what is it I love about blues? I love the music, absolutely love the guitar. I love the bent strings. I love the blues scale. I love the groove. As I said before, you just feel the blues. That's just great. And then the lyrics. You're not going to find more honest lyrics in any genre of music. I defy you to find more honest lyrics in any genre of music outside of the blues, or just working man, working woman kind of stuff. So what do you think? Are you a blues fan? Pop us a comment. Tell us who some of your favorite artists are, favorite songs, favorite albums. If you don't like blues, tell us why. Like I said, my wife doesn't like blues at all. She thinks it sounds whiny, and she doesn't like that twangy sound in some of it. So if you don't like blues, tell us that too. As Malcolm Guite likes to say, I do these little things in order at last to do nothing, or as I say in Latin, Parva ut tandem, nihil agam. Have a wonderful day.
There was a man